Hello, this is Cindy Schreiber here, and I would like to speak with you today about addiction. This Rob Reiner thing has just really got everybody here in Hollywood, where I live, West Hollywood, on edge. And I'd like to speak about addiction because I've had it in my family for years and years. Okay, I got to move this a little closer there. My kids always say to hold that still. But look, I'm me, I'm old school. I just have to get this message across. I have worked with my son's addiction for 15 years. It has covered every inch of my life. I haven't been able to work for a few years dealing with him. He's 29 now. He started at 16. And I can relate to so much of what they're talking about with Rob Reiner. And I always thought my thing with being unsuccessful, because parents feel like you're a failure if you can't get your kids off the drugs, because you think love can heal everything. And that's my motto. That's my website, Love 101. And I thought for years, you can love people and you can love them and you can carry them until they can carry themselves. But at age 70, my shoulders are tired, they're exhausted. Now, I always thought in addiction that people with money, like Rob Reiner, that they were able to get the help for the kids. And I always thought, gosh, if I just had money, I could get them in an institution, could get the lawyers to help me to get the guardianship. Because what happens is, I have my doctorate in hypnotherapy and I have a master's in counseling. And you would think I'd be connected with all the rehab places, and with everything going on. I was an intern over at the at New Directions. It was a place for rehab, mostly for meth addicts in the 80s. There were a lot of housewives on meth. A lot of people were into methamphetamines. And so I've worked at these places and I know the model. But when my son got into addiction, it was a different story for me. And everybody left. His father left. He couldn't take the pain. His sister didn't want to talk about it and couldn't be involved. I'm a single parent. We were divorced. And honestly, I can understand when people say, why didn't Rob Reiner do anything? Well, you see how tired I look now. My boyfriend just passed away this summer. Okay. And I'm reeling from everything. And I'm still dealing with my son. And you wonder why Rob Reiner didn't do anything. They get tired. Even with all the resources, he got tired. And plus, he lived in denial like I did for a lot of years of thinking, I love him and this love will be enough. But I've studied with Carl Jung all summer long, grieving my boyfriend's passing and doing my shadow work, which is the parts of ourself that we've repressed our whole entire life. The shadow isn't bad. It's just things that we didn't want to deal with in our life. So we stuffed them. Like the person who's like the preacher who might be like an exhibitionist on the side. And so he preaches God in the light, but he's doing his shadow on the side. And there's a lot of people that have not done their shadow work. And my shadow, it was stuffed. Everything was stuffed to where I became the empath, the good girl. And this good girl, my eyes are barely open. There. Waking up, waking up. But the good girl syndrome is what I have suffered from my entire life. I had my daughter and I wasn't married at 16, and my son, I wasn't married at 40. And that gives you such a protective things with your children when their fathers aren't around. And I always took my son under my thumb at age 40. And when I look at him to this day, he's 29, lost most of his teeth, thin. But if you look at him, he has the most beautiful face of an angel. And that's what fools me every time because he's far from it. But what I want to talk about is I want to start talking about addiction. I'm writing a book, Opiate Nation. It's almost done. The entire system is a failure as far as I'm concerned. My son has been to over 100 detox centers. I'm talking about all California, all up and down the coast of Florida. We have had him in one time we got him to Michigan. He didn't know where he was when he landed there. He was barefoot. He had taken his shoes off and sold them for drugs on the way to the rehab center. And he calls me, he goes, "What am I doing here in Michigan in the snow at an airport?" And this facility couldn't take him anyways. His insurance wasn't right. So they just shipped him back home to me. You know how many times I've tried to get him in to him to just come back? Sometimes he would show up at our apartment over here in Hollywood. By the time we would take him, say on a train, my boyfriend and I at the time, Steven, the rocker, we would take him like to, oh gosh, almost to San Diego one time. And that little whippersnapper jumped off that train, said he was going to rehab, but he jumped right back on it and got home before us. We have been through hell on earth a million times. And this is what I'm talking about, addiction. When a parent loves their child, I remember working at New Directions over there in Costa Mesa, and I would interview the addicts, the meth people, and I'd feel so bad for them, the empathy. But then the parents would come in and they would look like me, beat the hell up, beat up. Cars we've lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars we've lost. You name it, our minds, all of my boyfriend's guitars, you name it, it was taken. And guess what? I just kept forgiving and saying, at least he's alive. At least he's alive. Well, Demi Moore was being interviewed on Rob Reiner. And some of what Rob Reiner said really struck close to home. And that is why I'm going to walk right here and carry you guys with me and read what they wrote. Because it's so important. This is a big deal about addiction. And maybe this will just help somebody. Parents of addicts. The last, Rob Reiner said, I can't put him in a home because I have to keep my doors open because it's his last chance to come home. I can't tell you how many times I have kept this door open, how many times I've prayed and paced and walked the floors because my son stole my car, stole my credit card, and stole my telephone. You know how you are without your phone. And I would be pacing in that apartment over there with my boyfriend who became disabled. And so he couldn't get around and we became very impoverished. So I would wait for days for my son. And finally he would call me and say, I took a Xanax and I fell asleep. I'm over here at this parking lot. I've been sleeping 3 days. Or he would come home burned up from a bus stop where he passed out and was robbed many, many times. And I have gone down this road and I was looking for the model for the cure, being a therapist, being a counselor. There is no model, there is no cure. And especially if the family falls apart and runs away, many do, because addiction is such a hard thing when they are stealing from you, when they are taking your money, when they are taking your cars. Of course, what is my answer? My answer are, and I've had this for the last 10 years, mental institutions. We've closed a lot of them up. And we've given all these people medications, and that's where they are on the streets, schizophrenia, talking to themselves on the buses, bipolar, you name it. And all of society is affected by severely mentally ill people, especially in Hollywood. We live among them. But here's my thing. Here's my thing, peeps. If there's lockup mental, when my son gets like he is, out of control and crying and so depressed, they can be somewhere where they're cared for. And what you say to them is you get out when you can think straight. Like in Europe, they're a lot more compassionate with addiction. The model in this town is go in, get your treatment. If it doesn't work out, then you're going to go to the streets and you'll probably die in the streets. And how many nights I have prayed when my son takes off just this week, Lord, Spirit, protect him. Please protect him. Don't let him overdose. Don't let, which he's done many times, don't let him get beat up, robbed, killed, you name it, on the streets. And, no, it's not very successful. I'm exhausted. I'm 70 years old. Okay. And I've got a million stories. So I'm going to finish it up with this book. But I just wanted to let you people know that I think the mental institutions need to be reopened. I think all major addicts should be shipped up off the streets, just like ICE is picking up immigrants. No, you're picking up the wrong people, okay? Pick up the addicts and get them locked up when they're going in the store and stealing from society. People say, oh, well, they're addicts. Oh, well, too bad. So, well, no, put them in jail, have them do their work, detox them, of course, and then they go to work. They work for building the freeways, they work for, um, places, food service, anywhere that you take them out and you make them work. That's part of the problem here. I have seen people in these homes up in Hollywood Hills, very wealthy homes. My son's been in them. But if they're court mandated, they have to get jobs and they would be on the city bus and they would be saying, well, I'm going to my job site. And I thought that is a good plan. But that's only if it's court mandated. Many people go to counseling, and I've been to a million of these homes, and all they do is sit around and get pampered in their pajamas, and they're bored stiff out of their minds. They can't wait to get the drugs and get back out on the streets. And they do. They pass out all those drugs. Some of the parents are rich, some of the parents are poor, some are in between. But these kids are savvy, and what they're doing, the addicts are working the system actually. So what I would advise is opening up the mental institutions and really taking control on this. It's just like, to me, our nation is letting all of these young people die. There was 68,000 5 years ago that died that year from addiction. That has tripled. And I'm telling you the truth. While we're all focused on these stupid divided politics and everything going on, there really needs to be a new emphasis. Demi Moore spoke really well about Rob Reiner, and I thought, Demi, this is what we need. I went to the park to have a seminar on fentanyl. It was National Fentanyl Day. And I was over here trying to gather up all these people, and one person showed up. And I had all these banners and I had everything at a major park, and one person showed up. But part of my problem was, when you're in Hollywood and going to the different bars and saying, hey, will you come to my class? Will you come to, they all say yes. And of course, what are they doing when I'm approaching them? They're partying. So they're not thinking addiction. But anyways, this is my thing. There's not an easy answer. It's a paradox. If there was, my son would have been clean a million times, and he has been. But believe me, Rob Reiner says this. He believed he could love the darkness out of his son. Okay, love the darkness. That was my thing all this time. I thought, if I could just pick up the pieces in my life for my kids, they'll get the message and their darkness will go away. But that doesn't work, because all of this darkness that people have, it's their personal shadows. And I'm going to talk about politics because that's where they're going to. But it's an individual job, okay? It is an individual job, growing and getting off the drugs and staying clean. But we need a society that doesn't just look the other way and treat these people like they don't exist when they're sitting so nearly dead on the streets because their parents did give up on them. And I love you. I'll be telling you more about this. I'm going to be working on this book, getting it going, because it is such an epidemic. And I think more than one person can respond, because if you know an addict or you've had addiction yourself or struggled with it, Dr. Cindy knows about it. I have my doctorate, like I said, in hypnosis, and that sounds crazy. What can you do with hypnosis? You can do everything, and you can do a lot of work with the 12 steps. I've got a series I just made. It wasn't too good because you see how I'm videotaping this, but you know what? That series was 30 Days to Sobriety. Get on YouTube, look up Dr. Cindy Schreiber, 30 Days to Sobriety, and just sit down. All they are is habits, okay? Whether it's cigarettes, whether it's addicted to gambling, whether it's addicted to a chemical that makes you crave it more, cigarettes, you name it, you can get over your addictions. But I love you. I just want to speak up a little bit more. I want more light brought on addiction. If it can happen to Rob Reiner, and his son was so destructive, it can happen to anybody. So keep up the hope. People, with all going on in the nation, there are answers. Don't sit down and take it. I'm not taking it anymore. I'm not. I love you. I'm speaking up. I'm out of my little shell. I've been distracted. Excuse me, for 10 years with my son's addiction. Then my boyfriend had a stroke. He took some drugs. He overdosed. We had to bring him back. And the last 3 to 5 years was just hell. He finally passed away. Bless his heart. He's with Ozzy Osbourne. He was a lead guitarist. He was awesome. So I love you all. I'm the face of Hollywood too. I'm your girl, Cindy. I will talk to you later. Peace out.